Welcome back to Let's Talk Race in Ireland. Today we are going to get onto two topics. One of them being Coco Jones, the other one being Kylian Mbappé. We'll start with Kylian Mbappé because that one is actually the most recent one. But it actually made me think about the Coco Jones situation as well. Listen, I am a huge fan of Kylian Mbappé, more so what he does off the pitch than what he does on the pitch. I'm going to get straight to the point. I really appreciate when a black man is able to throw his weight around in these institutions, these corporations, these, very white dominant corporations. I think that's a very, very admirable thing. If a young black man can, throw his weight around in these environments. And we see here last night, he was subbed off at 46 minutes. And when he was subbed off, he probably didn't like it. Players usually have to stay seated, on the bench with the rest of the players. But what he decided to do was he walked off, went to change, actually went to take a few pictures with some fans after, and this was an away game. After he had taken some pictures with some fans, he then decided to go and sit up at the stands with his mother. And I'll put the images on the screen for you guys to see what he did. But my thing is this, and of course I'm going to take it to a deep conversation. We understand that throughout this last year and stuff like that, there's always been these questions about why Kylian is doing what he's doing. Is he doing it because he's scared? Is he doing it because he doesn't believe, that he will do well in the bigger league? And me having an assessment of his character, I just always felt like the decision was strategic. I always felt like he was doing it to understanding his worth. I just always felt like that. I always felt like he had a plan. It never added up to me that a young man with his stature and a young man of his confidence was afraid of a challenge. I just didn't believe it. And I think I'm right after all. I think it still didn't change the fact that he was desperately wanted and desired, and which it happened. And he is now going to Real Madrid by the sounds of it, allegedly, or speculating. People say he's going to Real Madrid this summer. We've heard that for the last 10 summers, so we got to be mindful. But obviously with this move that he made last night, walking out the pitch, he seems to be done with PSG. But for me, when I watch a young boy who can boss a World Cup final and just do everything he's done, it never gave me an energy of a young boy who was afraid of any challenge. In fact, he was ready to go up head to head with Messi and not at all feel like he should be the one taking the back seat. Not many could do that, So for me, like I said, it's a situation where I'm just proud of him as a young black man. I'm proud of him that he's in these obviously very predominantly white spaces, a lot of money in the room, and he's a young black boy and he's saying, listen, I know my worth fully and totally. I want to get into the deep side of it and say, guys, we need to understand one thing. I, in Europe, have never seen a black man or a black woman dominate white spaces. When I say dominate, I mean the energy, I mean those environments. I understand that black people can be the point of amusement in a space, whether it's a funny person, entertaining, really kind, attractive, but I'm talking about this energy where you hold an authoritative energy. I personally have never seen a black man or a black person in white spaces. And when I say white space, I mean spaces that usually wouldn't even have black people there. And you're there and you're holding an authoritative energy. I'm yet to meet black people who have that kind of a presence. I really think that if we begin to develop this, it will solve a lot of our problems. A lot of our problems come from the colonized mind more than it still comes from the colonization. I was shamefully arguing with someone on Twitter the other day, and it's not good to argue with people on Twitter because you're arguing with someone who doesn't care enough about the topic or the people to wonder why the damage has been this long. So you get someone who's saying you must be corrupt, you must be rubbish, you must not be enough, basically, if you haven't been able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get yourself back on your feet. And it's always a frustrating conversation because as someone who is a Pan-Africanist, I study the mind of the African. So I'm diagnosing an issue that has a lot to do with mental breakdown and soul breakdown as much as it has to do with factual neocolonialism and the fact that the West really does not have their hands off of Africa. But when you look at the African psychologically, I believe it's the psychological damage that actually harmonizes and allows, the continuation of colonization and neocolonialism and any other place where you see us unable to rehabilitate ourselves. And if we think that in a therapeutic term, it's easy to understand that, oh yeah, a therapy, we're all understanding now, we're in the era of understanding that there are things within your past that affect you till this very day. You may have been gone through something as a child, you may have been whatever. What we're failing to understand is that most of our parents who straddle on either side of colonization walk into life, yes, maybe with a work hard mentality, not with an authoritative mentality. And they don't teach their children to demand authority. They don't teach their children that, like Mbappé, when it gets to those nitty-gritty moments where you could lose it all, quote unquote, to remember your worth and stand on it, even if it crumbles in your hands. And I think what was so impressive about Mbappé this year, or last year, last while anyway, is that it just felt every moment that he was taking it too far. And he went further and further and further. And this is a mentality that we're not raised to hold as African children. Because we're always trying to beat a stereotype. We're trying to beat a thug stereotype. We're trying to be a difficult stereotype. We're trying to be an unpleasant, someone who like, oh, why do we allow these Africans into our country? So you're trying to override that by being as pleasant as you can to the oppressor. And they understand that in the unspoken language. And there becomes an agreement between the white man and the black man. One saying, I will be subservient. And then the other one saying, I will try to be as nice as I can, which would be the white man. So now we have accepted niceness because we know that there is some people that even if we are subservient, they won't reciprocate it with niceness. So then we learn to appreciate the white people who reciprocate our servitude or subservient behavior or submissive behavior or aura or assimilative aura. They do not reciprocate that with kindness. But guess what? We have thick skin. We'll say, anyway, I don't think too much about racism. Keep moving on. But what I'm trying to do this page for is that we have to be demanding for a high level of respect. That type of respect that people bump heads trying to acquire. Say, I'm not budging on this. Which can be a scary place. Because the black people's like, are you crazy? They barely let people like us in here. You're going to throw it all away for your ego, your pride. But we all know as black people, a flawed perception of the Negro has plagued society, Western society, of his worth. And it's due to the propaganda about corruption in Africa. But anyway, anybody who still believes African is down due to corruption doesn't know anything about history, doesn't know anything about really this current day and neocolonialism. But history will make you understand that even better. So all of these narratives and stereotypes have plagued society. We have internalized that. And we are always trying to jump over those hoops. And I really, really, really loved, and I was here for a young black brother who was like, listen, I'm going to strut my stuff here because I'm him. I am not mad at it. I am not mad at it. He didn't look to me like he's scared of any challenge. The boy's head could probably barely fit through a door, and good for him. Shout out to you, Mbappé. We got so many brothers who are trying to show the white man, look at me, I'm polite. Especially in those opportunities, you know, that much black people don't get, right? Those environments, you know, oh, this white man's giving me time. Oh, this is a big opportunity. I got to be my best behavior. People like Boris Johnson, who never belonged in the parliament, get into parliament because they have this arrogance that they were raised with, being white children, where they walk in the room and say, this belongs to me. We didn't raise our children with the same arrogance that Boris Johnson's, let's say, his parents would have raised him with. That privilege that white child is raised with. But our parents were raised with understanding, you might get 50 lashes if you do this and that and that. So we're raised then knowing what will get you 50 lashes. And we avoid those mannerisms, characteristics, attitudes. But unfortunately, it's now played a massive hand in the white man's inability to understand us to be a force to be reckoned with, like you perceive the Chinaman. But we're going to move on here to Coco Gauff. And this is another situation which I really love. She really, really went home on this. We're just going to play the tape for you guys to see it. I really love this situation. Turn this out.
I actually hit it. Yes, you did. The ball was already in the net when she hit it. You said out.
Yeah, no, it was not. I called it right away.
No, you did not. You did not.
As I remember, I called it right away.
You did not. The call was a late call.
Not for me.
Everybody here knows you called the ball after she hit it.
So I'm going to stop it just so I can give you a little, of course, context with it. What happened was she's clashing with the umpire because he said it was out late and it looked a little bit dodgy. Now, I'm not a tennis rule expert, but it looked very dodgy to me. So, you know what I mean? She challenged it. She was like, listen, I want to see the rules. I have a right to speak to, and I'm not sure, but to be taught the rules. If I don't understand the rule, I have a right. He wants to brush past it. Sounds like a guilty situation to me. And he just wants to brush past it. And like I say, if time's an African American fighting for what is ours. Check this out. So we'll keep going.
It's a question of fact.
No, it's a question of the rule. I want to know the rule. I want to know the rule if you're allowed to call it before or after. That's my question, so you can call her. What's the rule? Okay, can I ask the supervisor confirmation? Yes, I can. I'm gonna. My question to her is to ask her. Can you call if the? You don't know the answer. My right is to question.
Do you know this rule
right now? I want the supervisor. I'm gonna ask her. Are you? Yes, you can't deny the supervisor. I'm asking her. I'm gonna ask her what the rule is because I'm not confirmed. No, I'm gonna ask her what the rule is. You can't tell. I'm gonna ask her what the rule is. I'm gonna ask her what the rule is. You can't tell me the rule. If I'm questioning the rule, you have.
So I'm not gonna go too much into it because like it's it's quite a lot. Don't know if I'm gonna get flagged, so I'm just gonna try and stop there. But she's like, "Can you let me finish? Don't butt me." It goes further on. She did fantastic, and I want to give you a little story about something regarding this account. I wanted to call this page "Let's Talk Race." Let's talk about race in Ireland. That's what I first wanted to call the page. Why? We know the racism word is something that they have tricked us out of. The word that's allowed to be used is anti-Semitism. Racism, no one wants to hear you use that word anymore. It's not allowed. It's not allowed for you to use the word racism. And, my brother is a brander and he did the branding for his page. He branded everything and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't want to. He goes, I think you should make it racism because, you know, he kind of made up with the idea of like, putting a line through it. People don't want to speak about it, and the whole thing of like it's a line through it because it's that topic that no one wants to speak about, right? And I was like, oh, no, I want to just make it race because I want to talk about identity because I believe that is how we will fix racism. We fix racism by self-determination. I know that there's this toxic idea that we fix racism by being the best version of ourselves. Now, although that is true as well, the drive behind it or the inspiration behind it is actually very toxic. Because it's this idea that once we arrive at a certain place, we will be good enough to be appreciated. Make yourself so good that you cannot be appreciated. And there's a part of the Dr. Umar conversation that he had with Lil Yachty, and he goes, I'm not a bougie brother. I got more degrees than anything, but I'm not a bougie brother. I would sit with anybody. And I said, that's a real Pan-Africanist. Because we know that education, what the white man deemed education, was something that he also used to say, you people in Africa are uneducated, so therefore you are less valuable. Not mentioning the fact that his educational system is built upon his life ideology, his values. If we were to have our own education system, it should look completely different to him because we should have a completely different triangle of what our cultural desires and ideology is. But of course, the West having this kind of dominant force over the world, education is only regarded what he regards education. So I really appreciate Dr. Umar when he was like, I'm not a bougie brother. I don't use these, PhDs and whatever, doctorates to say I'm standing above Negroes. That's just a guy who's tapped in, his woke. I was like, well done, Dr. Umar. I appreciate that. But the idea that once we got those handles, those letters after our name, then we were worth it. So we all had this idea of keep the head down, push towards it. You left Africa, keep the head down, push towards it. Which is completely and utterly dangerous, and is why it's brought us here. We will get our respect in this world when we are not to be pushed around. When we are not to be pushed around. When we challenge people constantly. I'm always having a great time. My mom coming home telling me stories. You can only imagine that your mother is a if you think I'm an activist or I'm a Pan-Africanist, she's the queen Pan-Africanist. And she come home telling you stories of how she's challenging and she does this and she whatever. And that's what it's about as a black person. She goes, I gave away a woman's age, but I don't want to give away a woman's age. But she said, I'm a grown woman. I'm a grandma now. Do you know what I mean? And I regret all the years that I thought when I behave a certain way, surely I would deem respect. Now, as I've grown older, I'm realizing I'm going to bulldoze my way and get my respect. I'm not asking for it. I'm demanding it. I'm not being afraid to use the race card. I'm not being afraid to call a spade a spade. I'm not being afraid to challenge something. I'm not saying, oh, listen, I've got thick skin. It doesn't bother me anyway. I did that for my whole life and let people walk all over me in these white spaces and no more. And this is something an African will raise them. Just go there and play so well that, they can't deny you anyway. Forget. No. Nope. Anyway, Kylian Mbappé, just play so well, just be quiet. No, that's selfish. They need to know if they try that, because they're always going to be racist, correct. They need to know if they try that rubbish and try that garbage, these Africans do not play. They're going to hold you to it. They're going to call you up on it. And that's how it's going to go away. Because they're going to know, oh no. Even when someone else is racist, they're going to be like, what are you doing? Don't you know these Africans? Don't you know these Africans don't play? You follow me? So that's my take on that. Awesome. Shout out to these young professionals bossing it in their realm, showing that they would not be, not be bullied and not be messed with. So yeah, awesome stuff. And thank you for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
And I'm on a mission for you.